is Luke here. Paul is here with me as well. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. This is another FPO week that really looked like it was going to turn out very badly for me, and then it kind of turned around at the very end. But I still am struggling with playing the right players and not having people that drop one of the best weeks on my bench. So
Yeah, it feels a little haunting at the moment around these parts because not only is it the Halloween season,
it's a little
but
spooky.
the FPL season is starting to get a little scary and spooky as well. I think we're speaking for myself personally here. It's been a difficult couple of game weeks for FPL.
You're really in the trenches right now.
I'm in the trenches bad.
Yeah. So look, how about we both say our overall rank so everybody on the podcast knows where we're sitting right now?
I am currently at 1,157,598th overall.
It's a big number, folks. It's a big number.
Far too many commas in that one, for sure.
But it's okay. There's always time to change it very quickly, you know.
Too many sig figs.
Yeah. So I'm right now sitting at 272K, which I'm honestly fine with. Like, it's a lot better than last year for me.
260 is what you said?
No, 272.
Oh, nice. Very good. Yeah.
272K. But the scary part of this is that, like, I think Luke did some research, so we may talk about this later on, but it could be a lot better.
Let's just go into it now.
Okay,
Alrighty,
let's just do it. Let's quit stringing me out. Let's just do it.
Last night, I was sitting there and I was like, Paul has made a lot of decisions about his bench that ultimately could possibly cost him a lot of points in the long run, right? So I went through, counted the points on his bench, and then how many positive points that would get him over who he had started. You would have 70 more points if you would have started the right people.
Unbelievable.
And I'm going to be honest, I did not go through and count, say, like a 2 or 3 pointer. It was more of, Cash with a brace or Mbomo this week. So kind of big hauls or, a goal or assist. That was definitely accounted for.
That would probably for sure put me in the top 50K.
Yeah, plus 70.
Like,
yeah, so let's even say
plus
60, right?
Yeah, I'm at 647 right now. So if I went to like,
okay, so you'd be 707, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, keep going. I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, it's a little demoralizing, guys, but also I think it does speak a little bit too that yes, there have been players that have performed while they've been on my bench, but I think I've done a really good job this year of selecting a wide range of players that I want to play that could any given week do something very good for my team. So, am I playing them in the right week? Sometimes no, but I think I am making good selections on my players overall. So, it does balance out, Like I'm okay with it a little bit, Luke.
Yeah, it's just about learning from those mistakes and trying to decide who has the best possibility of returning. I'm looking at the top overall at the moment, overall rankings, and I think you would, if you say added 60 points, right, to your total, I think you'd be in the top 5K.
Top 5K?
Top 5K, yeah.
Holy
so,
shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, that probably hurts a little bit, but ultimately, it's still a long season. We've got so much time to go, right? And it's
week 10 of 38. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So much more time left in the season. We'll keep getting better, keep growing, learn from those mistakes that we've made already, and you guys can learn and grow with us as we go through this process together.
Absolutely.
Paul, you want to break down your week for listeners so they understand kind of what they're working with and kind of what happened for you?
I would love to. So this week I ended up on 74 points. My biggest contributors were I had Cash with the clean sheet, Ben White with the clean sheet, which Ben White almost had a goal too.
He was very close.
He hit that ball very well. That would have been freaking awesome for my team. And then I had Trippier on 0, Pedro Porro on 2, Son on 10, Saka on 12 because he was my captain this week. I thought that he'd have one of those weeks where it was just like sometimes Saka goes like very consistent, like we talked about in the last podcast. He's consistent. But then he'll have a week where he gets a hat trick, and I really thought this week would be it. But it's fine. Get an assist from him. could have used my captain a little differently, but it's okay. Got an assist from Madison, 2 goals from Callum Wilson. This guy was great this week. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze real quick.
Callum Wilson was really good this week. I think he's a goal poacher, right?
Yeah,
He loves being around that 6-yard box, making those runs to get to a far post, near post. His timing's really good too, right? And if he can get his foot on it, usually you feel good about his opportunities of finishing.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then I had, sadly, Joe Pedro that played, and silly old me was like, you know what? I think they'll absolutely smash Fulham, and I'll play him over Brian and Bomo, and that did not work well for me. And then I also had Holland, who was not captain. If he had been captain, my rank from this week would be so much better if I would have captained Holland.
Yeah, that is very true. That's spot on.
Here we are. Not a bad week overall. Beat the average of 66 by 8 points.
So as we talked about, right, you've left some points on the bench in the past. What from this week do you think you've learned about your decision to bench and Bomo, and how could that improve your decision making going forward?
Yeah, no, I was actually thinking about this. I think probably yesterday. That I think, like we always talk about, one of my biggest judges when I look for an FPL attacker is, are they going to be a focal point of the attack? Are they going to be involved with most of the goals and assists? Are they going to get the minutes to be there? And I broke my rule, and I went with João Pedro, who I thought had a better matchup. But it's always questionable if he's going to play, start, be involved, whatever. He's had a couple good FPL weeks, but not consistently. And then Brian's been a little up and down for me lately. And he had a good week last week, and I was like, I don't know if he can keep it going. Right. So I doubt, honestly, at the end of the day, I doubted myself and kind of what I value in FPL. And that's on me, you know?
Yeah. But hey, like we said, you learn from it.
Yeah.
You just get better going forward, right?
Yeah. You got to play your own game. Got to play how you play.
And sometimes that leaves you with a terrible week, and which is a good transition into my week.
Prepare yourselves. This is going to be 20 minutes of Luke just straight crying or screaming.
Not that, but definitely okay. We'll dive into it.
We'll see.
Okay, so for my team, as I said, my rank has now dropped down to about 1.2 million from about 500K 2 weeks ago. So that's a sharp plummet over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In goal, I had Pickford. We got a 5-pointer. You know, love getting a clean sheet from Pickford. Of course, he manages to get a yellow, though. You know, no surprise there. I've got Trippier with the solid 0-pointer. Pau Torres with a blank on.
That one hurts.
We're going to come back and talk about all the grievances within this team. But Pedro Porro on a 2-pointer as well. James Ward-Prowse with 2-pointer. Douglas Luiz, 7-pointer, getting the assist and 2 bonus. So that was really nice. Madison with the 6-pointer. And Bomo with 13. Love to see that. Hoyland with a 2-pointer. Holland with 16. And Watkins with a 2-pointer and the captaincy from me. So what you must be thinking yourself, where do we start with all of these problems? And I just have to say, I think in a different week, right, this team could have performed exceptionally well.
Yeah,
I felt great going into the week personally.
Look at Watkins. I mean, it should have been a cash assist and a Watkins goal easily early in that game.
Yeah, and if they get that first that early on, you think the floodgates open even more than they did. So the Watkins captaincy did not pan out. He had big missed opportunity. And when you think about it, right, it felt like with the run that he was on at that point, it felt like it was really difficult for him to blank because he had not blanked in so long, right?
It's got to happen at a certain point, though, you know.
And even this week, he had 2 chances created. He had 1 big chance created, and he also had, you know, great opportunities to score himself. So the fact that he blanked really, really hurts, especially with how much Holland returned, because if I just would have left the captaincy on him, would have saved my game week easily.
You know, like this not to cut into what you're saying at all, but the dynamic on Ollie Watkins is so interesting to me because if you look at him, he's had, honestly, I think, is he the highest scorer right now in FPL, or he's up there?
No, I think that's Salah now.
He's like top.
Actually,
3.
it's probably Holland, but keep going now.
So anyways, my whole point is that I feel like this year Watkins has had so many chances, and it makes me appreciate Harry Kane and Holland for what they are because they're so efficient. And if Watkins was just like a shade more efficient, he'd be blowing everybody out of the water in FPL this year because he's getting so many chances.
With Watkins, it feels like it's almost game to game. You
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
which day he's going to be on it, but if he's on it, he's a great person to have in your team. Maybe even captain. It didn't pan out this week, but to go back to your question, Paul Slaw is currently the highest scorer with 83 points. Holland's on 79, and then Son's on 78. So yeah, very very interesting way that the data works out there, and I really my midfield, James Ward-Prowse has been a really bad call for me.
Yeah,
That one
I was
simply
always
did not work
skeptical of
out.
that, Luke.
I well, the main issue is he was playing as a cam, and then got moved down to a CDM by Moyes.
Yeah.
And the week that I brought him in, he moved from the cam to a CDM. And for some reason, Suchek was thought to be a better cam than him. For some reason, I'm not exactly sure where that thought process came from, but that has really backfired on that decision. Bring in Hoyland. He had really great opportunities 2 weeks ago whenever they played Burnley, I believe. No, Sheffield. Yeah. Didn't convert his chances, and it's looking like a really bad transfer because for me it was between him or Darwin, and Darwin had a 10-pointer last week and then I think a 4-pointer the week before. So those decisions definitely have backfired. This week I took a -4 and brought in Odegaard, who didn't even play.
Yeah, that one's bad. That's really bad.
It's bad, but there is no way I could see that coming.
No, I'm
Right?
not blaming you at all. Like literally, like Odegaard has started almost every match they've had this year. So
Yeah, and speaking, from this point in time, the best transfer that, and there's statistics indicating this would have been a good idea. Nketiah would have been the best move, right? Take Hoyland out. He was not performing. That way I keep Foden in, who I took out for Odegaard, and then Nketiah in for him, and that would have been a massive week for me. But that did not happen. And I just, at the back line too, with Pedro Porro and Paul Torres, that was really difficult to swallow, right? Because you have one goal that probably should have been ruled out for a handball in the box. It's up to VAR. There's nothing you can do at that point. And then a really jammy own goal that Martinez knocks into the back of his own net after a terrible header from, I think it was Konsa. So, yeah, it's been a rough week. I don't know how I got to 59 points, honestly.
yeah, honestly, like for as bad of a week as it turned out for you, I think there is some good. There's a little bit of like a positive light to it though, because I mean, like you said, you still got to 59. You had the ability this week to have a lot bigger week than what you had. So I mean, like, and the Odegaard move wasn't a bad move. All this stuff, like, I mean, it just didn't play out this week for you, you know.
It didn't, yeah. So it makes you think.
Your logic was sound though, honestly, in a lot of the stuff you did.
Do I need to wild card? But for the time being, I don't think I need to.
I think you should.
I'm not entirely sure. For the next week, I'm not. But then maybe going into the next game week, I could possibly.
Well, I will tell you, of the games coming up this next week, and Liverpool against Luton is terrifying as a non-Salah owner.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It's
For sure.
terrifying. So we'll see how that goes. And also, I mean, I just do you want to dive a little more? And do you want to take a little break, and then we can go into?
Yeah, sure. Let's
next
take a
week a
little
little
break,
bit. Yeah.
and we'll talk about next week when we get back.
All right, everybody, we are back here at Top Ends with Twins, and we're gonna dive into match week 11, and we're gonna kind of talk about maybe our teams a little bit, or what we see in the week that we like for matchups, attacking matchups, defensive matchups. Would you like to start, Luke, or do you want?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and put it out there. I think chasing clean sheets this season is a really, really difficult task.
Agreed.
That is highly due to variance and luck. That with the rise of more talent within the Premier League, it is extremely difficult for any team to keep a clean sheet consistently over a sustained period of time. So, with that being said, I think we pivot towards trying to bring in as aggressive of attackers as we can. But at the same time, there's not a wealth of those at the moment either, right?
Yes.
Um, you know, whenever you think of that, the first one that comes to mind is Stupinon, right? He is an incredible attacking asset, playing at left back for Brighton, but he's hurt as of now. Um, so when we think about that, it's really difficult trying to pin something down. So if we look up the XG leaders from defenders from game week 10, the leader in XG is Ethan Pinnock at 0.61. He scored for Brentford on the cross from Mbomo against Chelsea. Kukurea was second with an XG of 0.58, did not convert his chance. Whenever we look at expected assist, the only defender that had an assist this week was Totti with Wolves. And that was off of a corner, I believe. No. He pushed forward, played around, and slipped it through to Huang, right? So there's not a wealth of options in defense right now. And if we're looking at the fixtures from the next week, there's maybe City. I think City might be the best shout.
Yeah.
And then maybe Villa, right? And okay, yeah, I would say, in my opinion, I think the three best assets, possibly defensively, would be City, Villa, and Liverpool.
I don't think Palace is a bad shout though.
Palace isn't, but it's also at Burnley, and I feel like that adds an extra
it's a
little wrinkle
different,
that makes it a little difficult.
Palace has shown that they can keep clean sheets this year at times. So
Mm-hmm.
little dark horse right there. Maybe not a great option, but if you're looking for a lower budget, or it's possible. Where it really gets really just so fun, Luke, is when you have a lot of Newcastle and Arsenal assets, and they play this week,
Right.
and I just don't know how that match is going to go. And I have Trippier and Ben White.
It's at St. James, correct? It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So that's gonna be a rough one to really.
Well, from an Arsenal perspective, both sides are a little banged up at the moment, but I would say Newcastle is lacking some more key personnel as opposed to Arsenal.
Yeah, no, Newcastle's going through it right now.
Yeah. And going to St. James does make that a lot more difficult, but at the same time, you would have to think that Arsenal are probably going to be favored to come out with that victory, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I hope so. I really hope the Gunners do come out with it. But just as an FPL owner, there's a lot of question marks around that whole game.
Right.
You know,
And my entire plan this whole run has been to keep Odegaard on the bench for this game week. That may not end up happening just the way that things are going to shake out because I am internally frustrated with James Ward-Prowse.
yeah, I would honestly, I would play Odegaard over James Ward-Prowse.
That's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment.
But this could be the week. This could be the week. You know, he gets that one free kick, and then maybe
they do play Brentford this week, so I don't know. We'll see. Brentford like to sit deep, play it long, and I think they'll probably try to do the same thing. So it could be possibly good for him. I don't know. It's
yeah. But I mean, so when we look at an attacking standpoint from like midfielders, forwards, the one that there's two that stand out, top of the line, Man City versus Bournemouth, and then also Liverpool versus Luton. And those seem like the matches to target this week for attackers. And I only have Haaland, and that's it, involved in those matches. So we may see a little movement this week with me shifting towards maybe trying to get one of those matches. Just depends.
Who would you be targeting with going out of your team by chance?
I don't know. So that's the problem, is that like I really like my team, but I could see one Spur asset going possibly, depending on. The difficult part about that though is, I mean, so Spurs, they play Chelsea this week, which I think honestly is a pretty good matchup for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think they'll probably find a lot of joy in that game, and then they play Wolves, which tougher matchup than it was earlier in the year than Villa, City, West Ham, Newcastle. So I think it's kind of at the point right now where we're seeing that maybe only having one Spurs asset is
Which
where
one
we're gonna go.
Which one do you pick though?
I'm probably going to stick with Madison just because he's a lower price point, and then free up that space from Son. Even if Son has done great for me, like he's been awesome.
I think personally too, for me, with Madison, it feels like his floor is a lot higher than Son's. Son's ceiling is a lot higher because he can explode,
Valid.
right? And even in this match against Crystal Palace in Game Week 10, Son was completely out of the match for almost the entirety until he, gets in a good position, puts the ball in the back of the net from a nice cross from Brennan Johnson. So whenever we look at that, we have to think, well, maybe he doesn't get in that position and ends up blanking, right? So Madison does seem like the one. He is the heartbeat of their attack. He's the creative engine, and it feels like everything's going to have to go through him for them to really be aggressive and returning week on week.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know. Like, so I think Son may be going out, but it just really depends on how my week develops and deciding what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Which at this point, I mean, it's Monday morning. I'm not dead set on any of these things yet. Just throwing out ideas.
Right.
But there is a slight chance that I could be playing my wild card sometime this week or maybe next week.
Interesting. Just to go back, so you highlighted Man City and Liverpool, right, as your primary targets for the week.
Yep.
Man City do not have a midweek fixture, so they will have a full week of rest going into playing Bournemouth. And then, conversely, Liverpool do have a midweek fixture. They're playing the EFL Cup against Bournemouth as well, ironically. So they play on Wednesday and then do not play Luton until Sunday. Definitely expect Liverpool to highly rotate. Salah will probably stay on the bench, come on in the 91st minute and score a brace by the 94th. So this is kind of what we expect at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, so definitely some very interesting fixtures to target for this week. I agree with you, though. I think from an attacking perspective, Man City is a great matchup to target. And then conversely, I think that, Liverpool are as well. For Villa, they do have a good fixture against Nottingham Forest, but it is away to Nottingham Forest. So that adds an extra wrinkle, and that just makes it a little bit more difficult, right? From Spurs and Chelsea, I really don't know what to expect from that one. I think Spurs will probably win that one, but as of the past 5 years or so, there's always a little extra in Spurs and Chelsea meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be fun. It's at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It seems like, what did Ange say recently? He said
that they're it's like a club atmosphere.
Yeah,
basically.
he was. I can't remember.
They were asking him, like he said something. This isn't a fortress, mate.
Fortress. That's what it was. Okay, I can't think of it.
This is like a club atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. So
which is cool.
Spurs fans are having a lot of fun, enjoying watching their team play great attacking football. So definitely something to keep an eye on. A little. I don't know. Maybe Wolves are interesting players to target, right? In my opinion, I think that's a good attacking fixture for them.
I mean, remember we talked about this early on the pod.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were kind of talking, like this is probably like match week 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah,
and
after
I was
they
like,
played United.
Wolves assets ? Luke.
Yeah,
we were kind of joking, but like
Neto has, he went on an incredible run, even returned last week, but he does have a hamstring injury that looks like
that was bad.
It'll keep him out for probably a couple weeks.
At the bare minimum, most likely.
No, they made a statement, and he said that he is hoping to be back maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, something like that.
I hope so. He's been great this year.
And Wolves have put in some really good performances against top 4 clubs. So maybe cheekily, maybe Huang is someone that we should think about, right?
Yeah, he's like, dude, that turn that he had.
Yeah, he's on the outside of his left foot,
where he literally, instead of like taking a touch with his right foot, just snatched it with his left foot, brought it back, displaced the defender, then finished. Like that was so nice.
It was really nice. So I think my differential of the week is Wolves attackers, right?
Okay.
We'll see how that pans out, but with the way that my calls are going at the moment, it'll probably be shuffled winning 3-0.
So look, I actually have a sneaky shout that you may not expect me to be discussing this.
Let's hear it.
I think United may see a little flip in their form.
They do have really good run of fixtures.
So they play Fulham. Let's see. Fulham, Luton, Everton, Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth. So I mean, the first three fixtures in that are almost kind of worth taking a punt on. Somebody
right?
that maybe I know that Bruno and Rashford have a higher price point, so maybe not them, but it seems like I don't know. I feel like there's going to be goals over the next three games for them, and I'm not saying I'm going to it, but like this is just an idea for people if they have the price point, if it works out for your team, maybe United is a team to invest in for the next 3 weeks, possibly.
And this is the reason. Not this isn't the main reason, but this is an example of why I don't want a wild card, because the transfers that I have made, they were with the intention of planning 3-4 game weeks out, right? And now I have Hoyland in my team, who
Mhm.
is very attacking. He's making the right runs. Just hasn't put the ball in the back of the net in the Premier League. And I think in this run of fixtures, he could easily do that. So, I'll give him 3 weeks maybe, see how it plays out. And if he can get a goal, get an assist. I mean, he's at 3% ownership right now. If he gets that first Premier League goal, he's going to start rising in price again. Going to stop dropping. And that's a great differential points to have right there. So
Especially like we said, if you see United start to look better as a team and more
mhm.
fluid, playing together, all these things, getting results, you're gonna see people flocking back to them as
You will,
FPL
right?
assets. So
And I
that's good
think
for you. You'll get all the price rises and
at the same time too, we see City having a more difficult run of fixtures after they play Bournemouth. We thought United would kind of be difficult, but it turned out just to be, casual walk through Manchester, right? It was really easy for them against United. So, yeah. But outside of that, players that I think could be great for the game week. Um, I don't know. I think Holland is a great captaincy shout. Do you think you'll probably captain him next week, Paul?
yeah, I think honestly after this past week, you kind of have to
Yeah.
because I think everybody's gonna flock back to him, and it feels like one of those weeks where if he explodes against Bournemouth, like he has 3 goals, and you don't captain him, then you're just gonna be left behind. So
Well, I still think Slaw's going to be higher captain than him next week. With
that's
Luton
true.
away,
That's true. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
I think his effective ownership, which combines his ownership from just normal people owning him, not normal people, sorry,
From the Muggles.
it accounts for the normal ownership of just having a player in your team and then also combining captaincy. So his effective ownership, I think, is going to be above 120% next week.
Yeah.
Just with people will be so tempted with that Luton fixture. As non-Salah owners, it would be a wonderful week for him to blank finally. But Matt Turner had his say,
good God.
and he made sure that Salah did not blank last week. I have never been more upset with Matt Turner in my life.
Listen, guys. So I'm gonna pivot real quick while we're still on the pod. But so this week, from an American perspective, was one of the worst weekends I think we've ever had for Americans in Europe.
It was not great.
It was so bad.
Musa did play really well, though.
Musa played well. Pulisic got subbed off for that injury. And
McKinney got an
Pulisic looked
assist.
great for But I mean, like just like the Matt Turner situation, Brendan Aronson not playing, Gio Reyna getting subbed off at half. Like I don't know. I was going through it before Luke was.
Right, and even kind of just going back to the FPL part of Matt Turner, a lot of people have him in their teams, and I think after a mistake like that, it wouldn't be shocking to see him benched for a little while. Right? They have a really good backup keeper who won the league with Benfica. I would not be shocked to see that happen because
I hope not.
that is a glaring mistake that, if nothing else, will put pressure on the manager.
So I will say though that the best case scenario for Matt Turner here was that goal really did not impact how the game was going to go. Like it was already like Liverpool was already up 2-0.
Right, they're not going to come back and win. That's
They weren't
not
going to come back and
expected.
win. So it's not like they were up 1-0 in the 95th minute and then he did that and gave up like a goal that allowed them to tie. So I think there is a different context to it, but I also agree. It's really not good.
It's just a glaring mistake that really you just cannot have happen, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any other sneaky captaincy choices that you think would be somewhat interesting for next week, Paul?
Let me see. Let me pull up the schedule. I was on a different
I think another one that kind of don't even have him in my team, but I think Julian Alvarez as a captain for next week is very interesting. Especially, if you're in the situation where you got Holland out of your team, you don't have Holland to captain, you don't have a way to get back to him. Captaining Alvarez is a good option for, possibly getting those Manchester City points. But if you have Salah, I think this is a fixture that you've been targeting for a while. And if Salah's in your team, I would definitely think that he's necessary to captain.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know. Like, I think that Brighton could just absolutely demolish Everton this weekend.
No. I completely disagree.
Yeah, why is that? Because you have Jordan Pickford?
No, it's not even from any of my FPL assets. I think Everton have looked so much better, right? If you look at the underlying stats, their XG conceded is relative. They're not conceding an insane amount of chances. And then combine that with, they're looking better cohesively as a team. Sean Dyche has built them out more specifically to what he wants from a side. They understand the system, how he wants them to play. And I think Brighton are going to struggle a little bit, especially away from home.
You want to put a little bet on that?
I will happily do that. Yeah. What do you want to do?
You want to...
We'll talk about this off air. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But we will be updating you all after we record the podcast next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It'll be me screaming for 5 straight minutes in triumph if...
Yeah, something for you all to look forward to.
Paul just screeching on a podcast.
As opposed to me screeching on this podcast. So.
Yeah. But honestly, I think it's going to be an interesting weekend of fixtures. Obviously, we'll be watching all of them. So anything else you want to add?
I do not like Liverpool playing the last game on Sunday. That is going to be a pretty miserable with that hanging over our heads if, say, our captaincy doesn't play out with Salah
There's
to play.
There's also Monday, too, just so you know.
There is, yeah.
Okay.
And Spurs assets in Chelsea. But I do not like Liverpool having the late game on Sunday. That feels dangerous to me.
We'll see, dude. We'll see. Maybe Luton is just going to be a fortress, and they're not going to give up anything to Liverpool, so...
Let's hope that happens.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
But I think that is going to bring us to the end of this podcast. We want to thank you all for joining us. Hopefully you learned something new from this. And if nothing else, maybe all of us are learning to manage our bench a little bit better and, make those choices that are great for our FPL teams, even though sometimes FPL hurts.
It does, guys. It does. But, honestly, we're here for the highs and lows. So
We are. Yeah. So whenever, we get back to the highs at some point, it's going to be so much better. And Paul, you're having a really nice run here.
Yeah.
So something to be proud of. And we're really, really, really glad that you're doing well.
I will say I am carrying the podcast. So my back's starting to hurt a little bit. I got to start working out a little bit more, to carry all this weight.
That's it. I'm just trying to get you to work out. Trying to add a little extra motivation there.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Well, everybody, thank you for listening as usual. And like we always say, play your own game. Enjoy it. Don't get too much into the emotional side of it. We know. We understand. We get it.
We would never do that.
We never do that ourselves either. But just remember, it's a game. We do it for fun. There's still 28 more weeks to go. So... Just have a good time, guys.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us, and we will be back with you all soon.
All right. See you guys. Have a good one.